Welcome to CXO, a magical podcast to help you serve better and concoct experiences that are superlative in nature. I'm your host, Supriya Sharma, bringing to you in each episode didactic nuggets so you can get inspired to sprinkle stardust in your company, your home, and the community on the whole.
Our guest for today is Abhishek Mohan Gupta. He's the Pro Chancellor of Jagran Lakecity University and holds the position of Joint Secretary at Jagran Social Welfare Society. A Harvard alumnus with a forte in strategy, brand development, and people management, Abhishek is currently the founding chairman of FICCI Young Leaders Forum, Madhya Pradesh. He's also the industry champion in education for Southeast Asia at the Entrepreneurs Organization. Abhishek is also the recipient of Exemplary Leadership Award in Higher Education, Edupreneur of the Year Award 2020, just to name a few. In fact, Asia One and PwC have declared him one of the 50 most influential Indians under 50 in Asia in 2017. Welcome to CXO, Abhishek.
Thank you, Supriya. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
So, Abhishek, coming from an industry which is rated at approximately $14 billion, that was a figure from 2020, the education industry we are talking about. How do you think the industry has evolved from delivering degrees in the past to delivering experiences in the present?
Supriya, I think delivering experience has always been part of the education industry. It's nothing new what's happening. It's just that people have started understanding or realizing more that people are now more focusing on experiences. Because I think in the education industry, experience is something which lasts and impacts with the student. Delivering a degree is just a very small part of the overall experience, but I think a student's life journey is not only about getting a degree from a university, but it's also about the social culture, engagement, what they have within their peers and with their faculty members, their experiences outside the classroom, their experiences in the industry while they're doing their degree. So I think everything put together brings comes together to make an experience while they're studying in the education institution. So I have always believed that an all-round student always excels down the line somewhere, where I mean, if you compare to a pure academician student, and I think that's where the experiences come and play a very important part, because uh, experiences just give you that life learnings which you never know when they will be used in your work life or professional life or at a very later stage. So I think experiences will always be delivered. It's just that now it's been more focused and talked about. So I think that's all about the difference in today's education industry is.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. In fact, it's generally been observed that the universities and schools find it complicated to figure out what good customer service looks like for their constituents, especially when compared to, other industries. Because you have your students, your parents, teachers, faculty members, community members who are actually coming from different and diverse backgrounds. And they also have disparate and sometimes competing needs. How do you then smoothen the edges in that case?
Um, I mean, I do agree. Running an institution is not a very simple thing as it looks like. I guess, and it's same for every industry. I mean, people looking from outside industry think, oh, this is so easy to run, and oh, I mean, what student can say in front of a management or their faculties, but you know how things are evolved these days. But I think in education, all the stakeholders are demanding, be it the students, be it their parents, be it the faculty members who are working with you in your team, and especially the government. I mean, you can't discount their demanding nature in the whole scenario. But and in fact, for all the parents who are one of our very important stakeholders, is because their child is obviously they think is the most important person in their life, and they wish each of their students should get the full attention. But as an institution, it is our responsibility to ensure that focus is distributed among all the students sitting in one class.
Mhm.
And sometimes it happens that a student might not get an opportunity, and then other one gets it, and it's a human nature, if I would say so. So, and then I mean that expectations load starts coming on the faculty members. But I think in my personal experience, I always believe in keeping transparent policies, and then stick to it. Because if as a management I start deviating from the policy which we make, then there will be a point of time when at a later stage down the bottom of the pyramid there will be other people who will be flaunting any policy which you have made. And big institutions primarily work on how transparently you have designed the policies, how transparently you have actually stuck to your own policies what you have made. Because if they're at the top of management, you change certain things. and and today everyone is very smart. I mean, be it student, be it faculty, they understand for whom you have changed
Mm.
that particular norm. So then, I mean, then whole just things gets goes for a toss. So I think uh, obviously sometimes it becomes a difficult question. Sometimes different questions are asked to you, where you sometimes feel, yeah, let's just take a wire route around it. But I personally feel that if you're clear in your head and your heart, and over the period of time every stakeholder understands, if you stick to your policy in the difficult phases, and you make them understand and not try to beat around the bush and tell them via medias, I think eventually as the institution grows, the stakeholders understand that they mean really transparency. And once that image is established, I think it automatically smoothens out all the edges which are there. It takes time. Every education institute, I personally believe, generally takes 7 to 8 years of us of a time when they can settle down. And I think and those 6 7 years are the most crucial period for any institution. If you weather the rough in those 6 7 years, I think then your long term journey becomes very smooth.
Mm.
So I think if you just of what I said, important part, stick to transparent policies, make transparent policy and stick to it. I think that's very very important for education institutions at least.
Absolutely. Transparency is a beautiful word that you brought in there. And my next question actually stems from that. You mentioned transparency. And what kind of an experience do you aim to create for all stakeholders at Jagran Lakecity University? You already laid the foundation of it being a transparent experience to begin with. What are the other components of that experience we would like to know from you?
I think, obviously, as I said, transparency is very important. Another very important aspect in an education institution or in a university, I'll just actually put two of them, which are very, very important. I think one is the ethics. I think it's very, very important, and and unfortunately, that is something which is diminishing from higher education as we move along the years. But I think ethics is very important, and I mean, as a standing principle in our institutions. I mean, we run schools and the university. Everyone knows in our teams and our stakeholders that anything goes wrong, but this institutions will not move from the ethical path which they have chosen, which is to deliver quality education. And I think it's very very important for institutions to follow that. It's a difficult part to follow, but a very very important part, because long term, I think if you are ethical in what you are doing and you are fulfilling the true mission of what you are meant for, I think business will happen, people will be happy, and you will be edged in years to come. And I think that's very important. And at the second very very important thing is being student centric, because at least at our university, we always involve students when we make critical policies, because at the end of the day the students are the one who are going to experience those policies, or are going to live through those policies. And if we get their side of things, I mean, even if you just listen to them, what they think about an X policy which needs to be made, they feel contented. They feel that they were involved in making the policies of institution which they love, and hence the bond becomes stronger. So I think being student centric is very important, and I think that is one thing which we have kept always as part of our strategy, and I think it's worked beautifully for all our institutions till now.
Mhm. So you spoke of ethics, you spoke of transparency, you spoke of student centricity. Abhishek, tell us, out of all this bouquet of the experience that you spoke about at Jagran Lakecity University, what is that one gem which is very unique to your university?
I think if all put together, I would pick student centric approach is, I think, very very important, and I think it's very dear to us and very centric to our all the vision. If we even, I mean, even if we make a small decision, we see how this is going to impact the students,
Hmm.
and that's what we have always kept in mind, and I think that's one thing which students love us for, and they become a genuine brand ambassadors because they're involved in the system and they know that if a university have taken a decision and they were involved democratically. I mean, there's one way that they protest and you then involve, and you invite them beforehand to come and design a policy with the senior management. And it's not senior management as in the faculties, but
Hmm.
even I am involved in a lot of policy making with the students. So they become your friends, and especially in higher education, me being, I mean, I've just been 12 years looking into this. I really, and I somehow relate to the students who are at the higher education because we've, I mean, not recently but fairly recently I've also gone through my transition of life, so we know ki, okay, this is how the student feels at X
Right.
point, and that's where you are allowed to give that much little leeway that the student feels more comfortable when they're coming in or when they want to do certain things, because you then start putting yourself into their shoes and see, okay, yeah, this is right, but there's sometimes when we feel, oh no, this is not right thing. So I think it's a continuous conversation between the students, parents, um, and the other stakeholders in the university. I think one thing which we have done beautifully is also weave the parents within our community.
Hmm.
Generally, in higher education, what has happened, the parents are always kept away because it's between the students and the management. But we try to bring in parents at various point of time, where we feel that certain decisions are very very important and parents should be involved into it.
Hmm.
So we bring in, we host these open houses for parents. People used to make fun of us when we started, you're doing a parent teacher house
Yeah.
thing in the university level, but I don't really see that. There are various formats to look at it, but if parents are involved in some critical decisions, I think undergraduation level student specific, they're still little immature, or they're less of exposure, I would say. Not say immature, but less of exposure there, and sometimes parents involvement is nice. So I think these couple of things works out well for us,
Hmm.
and I think, yeah, hopefully students are really happy here studying with us, and that has laid out a strong foundation for us. I think even in these pandemic times, things have worked out well for us, where in terms of admissions or anything else. I mean, we've ensured that the students' experiences are not stopped. Be it now, I mean, we've beautifully shifted from a physical format to a digital format,
Hmm.
and be it from concerts for students, be it counseling,
Hmm.
be it opening mental counseling centers for the students. I think we've tried doing it all, whatever we think as youngsters we require at that particular time. So I think that's really helped us well.
Beautiful. And I especially love the involvement of parents part because I'll share something really funny with you here. As I transitioned from school to university, being an academic number one and an all-rounder kind of a student, I always used to love that parent-teacher part of the meeting where my parents would come to school and my teachers and faculty members would say nice things about me. So I would always love that part. And as I transitioned from school to university, I used to think, come on, why don't I have a parent teacher meeting in college? Why can't my
Yeah.
parents get to know that their daughter is doing well? So okay, this is really interesting. I mean, the
I
involvement
mean,
of parents.
it's good for you. I mean, because you're doing well, but think of people who are not doing well. So yeah, so that's the whole situation. But yeah, I think it's important. And parents, you agree it or not, I mean, parents are one of the very very important stakeholders, irrespective of level of education you are doing, especially in India. They
True.
still their opinion still holds quite a significant value, or decision making power still lies with them, pretty much still.
True. Regardless of the kind of student or the brilliancy of the student, the parents have a major role to play in adding value to the career and the future life of that particular student. Absolutely in agreement with that. Do you think that tying customer experience to your strategic plan can actually aid or enhance the efficiency of implementation of this customer experience policy in an organization?
I think customer experience should always be part of your core strategy, because
Mm.
you can't create a customer experience if you suddenly wake up in the morning and say, today I want to create a customer experience. And if it's not part of a strategy, like a customer experience is not about just serving a customer, but it has a lot of things are attached to it. It might be infrastructure,
Right.
it might be facilities, and they can't be done overnight if they're not part of your strategy. So I think as people invest, uh, as people grow in the industry, I think especially in the education industry, I would say two things has to be very important. One, keeping customers experience as part of your strategy, and investing in continuous investing in the technology is very important. I somehow uh, very thankful to my professors who have already taught us this. We have invested in technologies over the years, and now in this pandemic we didn't find, I mean, we never prepared for this pandemic, but
Mhm.
because of technology being part and parcel or DNA of our university, we were already ready, and never even knew about it. So I think strategy point of view, customer experience very important, because everything you plan strategically has somewhere some point of customer experience attached to it. That's why you make a strategy, because you are ultimately working for your stakeholders.
Mm.
So if in the strategy point of view your end result is not customer experience, a happy customer experience, then I think there's something wrong with the strategy itself.
It's great to know about your digital preparation with infrastructure when it came to COVID, because most of the universities were actually struggling to have an infrastructure for their students to take classes from offline to going online. So that's brilliant, actually. And that comes from strategy, having a vision as to where you want to be in a certain amount of time. Okay. So, how do you ensure that the customer experience, or rather the service oriented culture, I would call it, how do you sustain it in your organization, and how do you keep on promoting it as you move forward?
I think it's very important. There are two, three aspects to it. One is you create a value chart for your organization, and
Mm.
ensure that people stick to it. Continuous training and reminding them of those values is equally important. Um, and also, I think as an organization, since my father started this 20 years back, uh, he has always been a very strong believer of having a very strong value based system. He has never pushed us that, oh, you have to be achieving high numbers always. He's always told us and others employees and other team members of our, it's okay to be at a lower numbers, but if you're high on your value system, value chart, I think you'll be more satisfied and more stable when things are. There
True.
are there are always two ways to work in an organization. Either you're galloping and leaving apart your value chart, because uh, or you are moving slow like a turtle, and but ensuring your value charts are there and you are strong on your base. And I and because probably kind of values is transferred to us and to our team members, I think that's what we have taken up, that let's be steady, strong, and move slowly to our goals. Don't be too aggressive about being acquiring students or doing something else.
Mm.
Let's start a project, ensure that the value chart is designed, ensure your team, the senior management of that particular unit understands your value. I mean, because transitioning from the top management to the subordinate,
Mm.
I think it's a very difficult thing to do. It's not very simple. And sometimes you come across people who don't understand it. I mean, and then you realize in a year or two, no, things are not happening. And then it becomes very difficult to take a decision. Either you train them more, give them more time, or really plug them out of the system. It becomes difficult. So I think for us, values have been very very important.
Yeah.
And I think because of a strong value system, value chain system within our organization, we have been able to do well within these trying times, because even our parents knew, or our stakeholders knew, that irrespective of what happens, they will not change their value system and
Mm.
cut corners and do things, because they have seen us grow slowly but steadily over the period of time. And that's where your brand starts building up. And once you become brand, you're known for your values, you're known for your integrity, you're known for your passion to deliver best. I think then the magic starts happening across, I mean, be it uh, industries like education or construction, but I think service industries especially,
Mm.
like education, where you're dealing with stakeholders time and again,
Mhm.
back and front. I think value system is very very important, I think. And that's I think that's the key thing from all the aspects which we've discussed. I think value system, creating a strong value system, is also important for your customer experiences,
Sure.
because that's where the people start judging you, or start looking at you in a different way.
It's fabulous how you brought in the word when magic starts happening, because that's the idea of building a customer experience or creating or curating a customer experience. It's all about making magic happen for your customers.
Yes.
And how you do it is through your strong value system, which eventually translates through your brand, through the way you
Yeah.
deliver service to your stakeholders. Wonderful. Abhishek, it was a pleasure having you here with us today. Thank you.
But thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I look forward to having more discussions with you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to CXO with your host, Supriya. I hope you enjoyed a dive into the nitty gritty of customer experience. If you are committed to applying these ideas in the real world, stay tuned with me. Don't forget to check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.